We're on lesson 8.3. This is page 215. This is solving percent problems. The essential question is, how do you use percents to solve problems? And the first page is an Explorer activity. I'll read it with you. Modeling a percent problem. You can use a model to solve a percent problem. A sports store received a shipment of 400 baseball gloves. 30% were left-handed. How many left-handed gloves were in the shipment? A reads, use the diagram to solve this problem. 30% means 30 out of, well, it means 30 out of 100. Now I recognize that this problem says there's 400, but what 30% means is that for every 100 gloves, 30% would be left-handed. So the following statement, there were blank left-handed gloves for every 100 baseball gloves, 30. And then we show a picture. It says, complete the diagram to model this situation. So check out this picture. It shows you that there's going to be 30 left-handed gloves right here out of every 100. But we have a total of 400, so I need to do another 100 here. And 30 of those would be left-handed. And I do need to do another 100 here. And that's not going to work. I'll try and be as neat as I can, but it's going to be tricky. And 30 of those will be left-handed. So I'm right now at 100, 200, 300, so I need to do one more little box here. And 30 out of those 100 will be left-handed. So now I'm at 400 total gloves, which is what it says, 400 baseball gloves. And I've got 30, 60, 90, 120 of them are going to be left-handed. B says, describe how the diagram models the shipment of gloves. I'm going to type here. It says something to this effect. The larger rectangles are 100 gloves, and 30% means that 30 out of every 100 are left-handed gloves. All right, let's move on to question C. Try and do C and D here. I'm going to leave that answer right there. C says, explain how you can use the diagram to find the total number of left-handed gloves in the shipment. And then you can either, there's different ways to say this, you can either count by 30s or you can add up. Add 30 plus 30, it's going to be 4 times because there's 4 sections. Add 30 plus 30 plus 30 plus 30, or multiply 30 by 4 to get it's 120 left-handed gloves. And I mean, you don't have to describe that as adding, and you don't have to describe that as multiplying, but you need to recognize that we were trying to group them by 30s. You could even say count by 30s. All right, question D. Use a bar model to solve this problem. The bar represents 100% or the entire shipment of baseball gloves. The bar is divided into 10 equal parts. Complete the labels along the bottom of the bar. So way over here it shows you 100%. That's the whole shipment, and that would be 400 gloves. So then when we try to get you to recognize that if we split it into 10% sections, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100, how do I get from 100 down to 10%? You divide by 10. If you divide 100 by 10, you get 10%. And then if you divide 400, because that's the whole shipment, by 10, you would get 40. So what this is saying is that 10% of the shipment is 40 gloves. Well, how would you compare 10% to 20%? You would double it. So you would double the percent and you get 20. You would double the gloves and you would get 80. So what the conclusion you can draw here is that every 10% is equal to 40 gloves. So as you increase by 10%, you increase it by 40 gloves. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Well, as you increase by 10%, you increase by 40 gloves. So 40, 80, this is going to be 120. Now we already knew that. We already answered 120 because we found it a different way. But we really should just do the whole bottom of the bar. 40% of the shipment would be 160 gloves because I'm adding 40 again. If I add 40 again, I'd get 200. And this should make sense because what does 50% mean? 50% means half, and half of 400 would be 200. So 60% would be add another 40, so it's going to be 240. and 280, and 320, and 360. So all I did here along the bottom was I did my multiples of 40 every time. Those are just the multiples of 40. Alright, good job. You're done with the Explore activity on page 215.